Alrighty, y'all, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. We're looking at how Australia's new layout makes F1 history. If you would like me to watch some more content on Formula One, go ahead and suggest some cool things you would like me to check out down below. I do appreciate that. I'm vaguely familiar with F1, so maybe more familiar with it than I used to be of some motorsports I've covered on the channel and learned about, but I'm not super familiar with it, not like a super fan like I would be, you know, at certain years for like NASCAR or IndyCar. So yeah, this will be interesting for me, especially because one thing I don't know is like all the tracks for Formula One, right? I know they change a lot, but like this one, the Australian F1 circuit here, I know nothing about, so we're going to see what it's like and what and why it's making F1 history, according to the title. So yeah, let's check it out. This video comes to us from Race Beacon. That is the channel. Make sure to check it out. It'll be linked in the description down below. And let's just jump right into this. Here we go.
This is Bradley from Race Beacon, and it's Race Week. This weekend will not only mark the return of Sebastian Vettel, but also the return of the Australian Grand Prix, which was the first event to be cancelled due to the cough back in 2019. Now, just a few moments ago, really, and probably only an hour or so ago once I upload this, Formula One changed on their website the track map for the Australian Grand Prix. So this is a track map that we had in 2019. You can see this is a track that you all know and, depending on who you ask, maybe love. But we've known for a long time, even before the pandemic, that there were going to be changes to the track. And now we finally have them. So let's just go over some of the key changes. The biggest one, obviously, is for DRS Zone. Even before the pandemic,
they got rid of 9 and 10, that little kink there.
And now we finally have
and
to the track. And now we finally
not much else
have them.
Other than different DRS zones. But the removal of that kink is probably pretty cool, actually.
So let's just go over some of the key changes. The biggest one, obviously, is 4 DRS zones, but I will get onto that in just one moment. Through most of the first sector, it actually remains fairly unchanged. There's not a massive difference. The biggest differences here are basically the track being widened on exit and, you know, slightly nicer curves in places as well.
Cool.
This is just simply to make it easier to follow. You can run a little bit wider. It's not going to make too much of a difference. It should fit in with the new regulations incredibly well. And yeah, the changes to Sector 1 are actually pretty minor compared to what we see on the rest of the track. So as we approach up to turn 9 and 10, this is the first major difference on the track. Right. You can see, this is 2019, you can see obviously we've got about a 90-degree right-hander, which then becomes that left-hander. It's a little bit of a chicane. That has now become a complete straight almost. And we're going to have DRS through most of the way into the run-up to turns 9 and 10, which is that fast left and then right-hander, where we're going to see...
Yeah, they're going to be able to carry a lot of speed here. Then you have the DRS element. And of course, being F1, they can corner extremely well. And I think if these are light enough turns, which I'm not exactly sure how sharp they are, not seeing the real track, but... you know, compared to these down here, I think they can take these pretty fast, and they're going to carry a lot of speed way down here into 11.
Especially with DRS on entry and also exit, we're going to be some really high speeds here. I would not be surprised if we do see a crash or two. It's definitely one that the people who play the Formula One games will have struggled on. But really, as a whole, the nature of the track hasn't changed too much in the build-up to that, or it's just a little bit more curved. It has changed a little bit, but the real changes of the track this year is through most of the corners, it's all been widened, but also it's just going to flow a little bit better. There's less slow, clunky corners, which is especially the case on this year's car. This happens when the cars lose the downforce generated by ground effect, basically, when they're going through slow corners. So when we do get to a track this year like Monaco, these cars are going to handle like an absolute bit. So after we've exited turn 9 and 10, there we go, as you can see, that used to be a DRS zone anyway. So the main difference is actually on the approach. So after turns 9 and 10 there, which have not moved, that's just not a corner anymore. Although I would argue that probably turn 9 should be here, especially considering what some of the corners we see elsewhere on the calendar are. But that's not a debate to be had right now.
Right.
So we've got a DRS zone all the way on the entry, which is something we've never actually seen before. And truth be told, I'm not entirely sure why we didn't have a DRS zone here before. This was just a detection zone, and then we got it on the exit. So I think the biggest issue in the past was cars not braking on entry, and obviously the DRS won't close, and you cannot go through this corner with DRS open. That would not end well. The nature of turns 11, 12 and 13 have changed a little bit. It's nothing too major. Again, it's slightly wider track, slightly more accommodating to a little bit of understeer. as no real difference there at all. Again, it's just allowing the track to flow a little bit better. I mean, from the track map, there's barely any difference at all. I think it's pretty much the same. And then, of course, heading into the final 2 corners of the lap, that's where you can gain so much time. And this is probably the heaviest braking zone on the track now.
Yeah,
you've got about a
hella
110-degree left-hander or so.
Yeah,
and
that
is
turn
probably
13
going to be
is
one of the heaviest braking zones
wow,
on the track,
that is
especially
super,
considering how much
super
speed
sharp.
can probably be taken on a slightly wider turn 11 and 12 this year compared to what we saw with turn 13 and 14 in 2019. But for me, the biggest thing here is the fact that we have 4 DRS zones.
Yeah.
This is something I've wanted to see on a few tracks, especially the more recent ones.
This is going to be a fast track.
If we get something like it in Las Vegas or Miami, something crazy like that. But what I find really interesting, of course, we've only got 2 DRS detection zones. And now this isn't something I've actually had the chance to rant about on stream, like most other topics in Formula 1 actually. But I really dislike when we have double DRS zones with only 1 detection point. For me, we need a detection zone probably about where the speed trap is, to be brutally honest. If not, maybe at about turn 1. Or just before, I don't know. For me, I really don't like the double DRS zones. If Formula 1 had faith in the product, they wouldn't need them, because you'd think, oh, they can get the move done down to turn 1, but turn 1's not really an overtaking point anyway, neither's turn 2, obviously. That's much more follow-on from the first corner. So I can see why they've gone for it, but I still think if someone manages to get the move done into turn 1, just put another DRS detection point there. If they're still behind, great, they'll get it again. And if they've got ahead to drive it behind, we'll have a chance to fight back. But I don't know, that's a personal gripe for me. Let me know if you guys agree with that, actually, because...
Now that I can't weigh into, I got a little lost there. And this is this is definitely remnant of me not watching enough Formula 1.
That's something that...
I'll be honest, I haven't watched it in probably 2 years. I've watched it certain seasons. I got to catch maybe 3 or 4 rounds of it and enjoyed it, and then fell off of it. For a while there was a little hard to watch in the U.S. Obviously, not being lined up on time of day when it was broadcasted live. Was one part of the problem, and then it's still not as big in the U.S. I feel like it's not as big as it is in other countries. Even though it does have a following here, and I really do enjoy it. I'm fascinated. So yeah, I don't exactly know totally what he's talking about here, so I can't weigh in on that. But yeah, this looks like it's going to be a really Sorry, I did not mean to hit a play there. This looks like it's going to be a really fast track, long sweeping turns, especially here, and then over here. Then you have a couple tough sections that are going to be heavy braking, like right here. Especially right here and maybe over here. But yeah, it's pretty cool layout.
Talk to me about DRS zones. When you see a driver get the move done and then they get another...
After the video, I'm going to look up a little bit about where it is and
there's
stuff.
not going to be a fight back. You feel a little bit robbed almost. But of course, what's quite interesting is because there's no DRS detection zone here, but this means that on lap 3, once DRS is enabled, we actually won't get any of it until right at the top end of the track, about halfway through the lap. So that will definitely draw out the field a little bit, and I think it will kill any chance of major DRS trains. Obviously, if we had this one going straight from the safety car restart or the race start, then obviously you're going to probably end up with DRS trains. It just means that drivers can stay that little bit closer if they've made a mistake through turn 1 and 2. But I think this way sort of works because it does stop the whole race just becoming a complete DRS train. Now, I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but it's something that Formula 1, I think, would want to avoid. But there we go. What do you guys make of the changes?
So there you go. Yeah. What do you guys think about that? If you follow Formula 1 probably closer than I do, are you a fan of the old Australia F1 layout, or are you thinking that this new one is going to be better? Not knowing much about this at all, I would vote for the new one just because it looks like more, DRS opportunities. You're going to see a lot of speed, and then, of course, getting rid of that chicane right there helps free up the speed as well. So I think it looks fun. Let's look up real quick at for our ending here. I want to look up a couple pictures of this, get a sense of where it's at, what it looks like. Bear in mind, my favorite track is still Mount Panorama. Okay, so the Australian F1 track is in Melbourne. I should have known that. You guys have said that before in some of my other motorsports videos. So I guess I should have known that. But there you go. There is the F1 track in real life. I just kind of wanted to see where it was at and get a sense of what it looked like on the ground rather than a map of it. So there you go. Looks like a beautiful area. Looks like it's pretty cool. Not going to lie. So there you go. Like I said, do you like this new one better? Will you be attending something like this, or have you gotten to attend an F1 race in Australia? That sounds really, really cool. If I had to pick, I'd probably go to a Bathurst race. That's just my style, but this would be really, really cool as well. Make sure and check that description out. That this video from Race Beacon will be down there, linked down there. And make sure to throw a thumbs up on this video if you enjoyed it or learned something new. I certainly did. And subscribe for more stuff like this. Great community, great videos on here. You won't regret it. And that being said, guys, check the Discord out. That's in the description. Very active. Check me out on Instagram and Facebook at IWrocker. My name is Ian. You're watching IWrocker. Until next time, guys. Catch you later.